All right. Welcome back, folks, to the FF Face-Off. This is a fantasy football podcast, but today we're giving you DFS. We're going to mainly go off of DraftKings here with our knowledge. We're going to talk about some nice price points we like, some ownership, who we think could pop, who we think could win you some serious money. So we're going to get to all that. Should be a good time. Just tell you guys, if you're watching on the YouTube, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, be notified every single time we go live. Last but not least, go to fffaceoff.com for all of your fantasy football, NFL, sports betting needs, and DFS. It's there, obviously. And follow the show at fffaceoff on X. My name is Michael Hopp. You can follow me on X at the FF Realist. I'm joined by another DFS junkie on the show. Anthony and Pete can't really hang. Pete's trying, but he can't do it yet. Bless his heart. But Steve D'Angelo is here. You followed at Fantasy Savvy. Steve, how's about you, man?
Everything's good, man. I'm excited to get into this. This is our debut doing this. We've been talking about it. Finally going to get it done. And yeah, I would say high stakes redraft, obviously my first love, but DFS is something that I'm trying to get better at and, continue my process. So I think doing these shows early, starting the process early instead of me, last minute getting shit in because I'm setting 5,000 lineups, starting my process early, helping the viewers as well. Going over these players each week is going to be great for everyone. So, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, and let's get into it.
Good to sharpen the mind. We're going to get questions here in the chat. We're going to tell you guys this is a DFS show today. Maybe we'll answer a question or two. I'll answer these two questions because they're here, but then we're going to get right into DFS. If you have a DFS question, ask that. As always, though, if you send in a super chat, it could be about DFS, it could be about fantasy, or it could be about some home improvement questions, and then we'll answer those. So there you go. Yeah. Zach Linton's here as always.
What's up, Zach?
Thank you. What up, Zach? Vio's asking though. We'll just answer this quick. Zay Flowers or Amari Cooper for flex? I still think I like Amari Cooper, even though Zay Flowers has been growing on me, and I do like that I do like that game. I think that's a high scoring affair between the Ravens and the Bills, but I would go Cooper there probably. You going that way too, Steve? Or
yeah, I kind of like Cooper and no Njoku once again. I mean, the Browns' offensive line is definitely banged up, but no Max Crosby for the Raiders certainly helps. Deshaun Watson, and then look what the Bills have done against receivers so far, shutting down Harrison, shutting down Hill, and Tua. Doing a great job on Trevor Lawrence and company last week. So, Christian Benford's pretty good corner over there. He should be matched up with Zay a little bit. So, yeah, I think Cooper, we saw him kind of finally go off last week. Let's roll with that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we'll answer one more question, then we're getting to DFS. If you have a DFS question, ask it. If not, I don't know. Whatever. We'll cherry pick a couple questions here and there, maybe. Michael O'Day asks, Ayuk, JJ, Wilson, Odunze, start three wide receivers. So we'll do that. He's got to start three of those guys. I think Wilson would be the odd man out for me. I am scared of Patrick Surtain this week.
Yeah.
That's not to say Wilson can't pop one off, but I don't know. I'm watching him shut down guys every week, so Wilson would be the odd man out.
Yeah, and Ayuk's, they're playing the Patriots, but looks like Kittle's coming back. But we're still waiting for that Ayuk game. Now, a little bit of a scuffle in practice, but Ayuk still looks good on tape. He's still separating. They missed, I think you saw that one pass to Purdy, kind of overthrew Ayuk a little bit. Wasn't a ton of separation, but he was kind of open. So, I mean, Wilson's definitely scary with freaking Surtain, and Wilson's matchups the next couple of weeks are scary. They got some tough games, then it eases up. So I don't mind using those three guys. Definitely JJ Odunze's got a good matchup. I still think I might go Wilson over Odunze, but definitely Ayuk and JJ, and then you decide between Wilson and Odunze, or maybe Odunze and Ayuk, but all good options there. And then Texans or Raiders defense. I'm going to go with the Texans against the Jacksonville. Lawrence right now, when pressure comes, he's turning around, getting out of the pocket. Now you got to go against those two pass rushers and Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. So I'd go with the Texans D there.
1,000%. All right. This question, though, we have, because OK asked this, but he did follow up and said it was FanDuel GPP. Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields?
Oh, that's Fields all day. And we're going to talk about Justin Fields here.
We are, yeah. Well, I mean, and any podcast with you, we have to talk about Fields. Just like any podcast with me, we have to mention the 49ers at some point. So there you go.
That's right.
I mean, so there you go. But yeah, I mean, on FanDuel, Justin Fields is sitting at what, 5,500
Yeah.
It's a 57. Price ain't a lot different, but yeah, I would go Justin Fields pretty much regardless of price, to be honest.
And you know what? I mean, Lawrence actually isn't a terrible play this week. Houston's been kind of leaky. So, I mean, this
True.
could kind of be a somewhat of a bounce back game for him. But I still would prefer Fields here. And the Indianapolis defense has some injuries of their own.
All right. So there you go. All right. So let's get into a little bit of this now. Today we'll go position by position. Maybe next time we'll go game by game. Me and Steve are gonna feel this out. We're gonna see where our comfort zone is at. But Steve, give me a quarterback that you like this week in DFS.
Well, we'll start with the cheapest one, and I guess we'll just get right into it with Justin Fields. And again, we mentioned the 5,500, and it's a great value. I mean, he's still under market. I think. I mean, we've seen Fields run for 1,000 yards in this league. Now he hasn't really gotten it going running the football too much yet. His highest total was against Atlanta for 57 yards in week 1, but didn't score in that game, but did score a touchdown last week. And he's seemingly getting a little bit better every week. Last week against the Chargers, pretty good defense coming in, throws for 245 and a touchdown, also runs one in. He got a touchdown call back against Denver to George Pickens. There was some deep passes. There was some defensive pass interferences. There was a holding call. So, he's taking shots to Pickens. Fields is a great value this week. The Colts defense, like I mentioned, they're going to have Latu, who looks like an absolute force, but no Bruckner again. Kenny Moore, their corner, is going to be out. Pay, another defensive lineman, is going to be out. And this Colts secondary is missing some big pieces. They're definitely vulnerable here. So he's not going to be crazy owned, not like Jaden Daniels, not like some of these higher guys, not like Burrow. You go down the line, maybe I think his percentage is at 9%. Yeah, 9% right there. So I mean, I love, or 8%. Depending, you can gauge it. Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 10, who knows, but that's kind of what we're seeing here. So yeah, I love Justin Fields this week. Great value. And then of course you could stack him with George Pickens, Georgie Porgy. So I like that there.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, that was the one graphic I forgot to make, was those two guys. So good times. Whatever.
I'll get it next time.
I also always like to go with the mantra of, I was always taught this a lot back in the day when I first started writing, is that you want to try and get a player that's going to score 3 times their cost. So basically, if a player's around 5,300, you're going to want to get, you're figuring there about 15.9 points you want, roughly. That's when, because once you start scoring 3 times your costs, you're in pretty good shape. And last week, Justin Fields did that with 19.44 points. That was off of 5,300. Now he's only $200 more. I don't mind paying just a little bit more. It's still just like you said, it's still cost effective to do. If I'm taking a quarterback, and then we'll discuss a couple more quarterbacks.
One thing I'll say about Fields here, maybe the Steelers defense comes out and dominates. I mean, Anthony Richardson hasn't looked great, and maybe Arthur Smith just gets giddy and runs the ball freaking 10,000 times with his boy Cordell Patterson. Even with Jalen Warren out, he kind of, but you give him credit, he kind of made Cordell Patterson relevant finally. Back in Atlanta. So that's the one thing you could say. Maybe they sit on the ball, they run the ball a lot, so maybe there's not a lot of throws for Fields. But I think, he should put up some running numbers, get some early passing production early. And I think Richardson, I think I don't like him as much as I did. I mean, I hated him last week. I like him a little bit better this week. I think he gets some shot plays to Pierce. Maybe downs in there.
I'm completely out on him this week.
Right. I'm not gonna use him, but I'm saying, like, he could kind of keep the game script, good for Fields here.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see that. If I'm going with a quarterback here, a little bit on the cheaper end, he's only $100 more than Justin Fields, but his ownership is lower than Justin Fields. It's Caleb Williams. I was ragging on this guy all last week, texting the group chat throughout the whole first half of that Bears-Colts game, just shoving it up their asses in the group chat about how bad the quarterbacks were. But second half, he improved. He did good. He found Roma Dunze, found Cole Kmet. Now he's going up against a Rams team that's allowing the 3rd most points in DraftKings scoring. They're one of a few teams that have now allowed 20-plus points of quarterbacks in 2 out of their 3 games. So I like him here. His ownership is low. His ownership is around 4%, I believe, right down the line. right,
Yeah,
sandwich there
4%.
with Brock
Yeah.
Purdy,
Yep.
Jalen Hurts, those guys. I like Caleb Williams here, and I like the Roma Dunze stack if I can get a hold of that, which you can with their price point. So I like Caleb Williams here. I think he's going to outscore his cost probably by a pretty solid margin here, and I think this is where we finally start to see Caleb Williams start to thrive for fantasy. Steve, did you have any thoughts there, Caleb Williams?
Yeah, it certainly seems like a good matchup here against the Rams. But we did think it was going to be a good matchup last week as well. And
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up producing. It wasn't a great game. He had 2 more picks. He fumbled. Now I don't think that second interception was totally his fault. It was kind of like a throw up to a Dunze, and a Dunze seemed like he could have came down with it, bounced off. It was picked, but he also missed a bunch of throws too as well. Kind of skying balls a little bit. But yeah, this is the matchup. I mean, Purdy. I mean, he ran for 41 yards. You saw Murray run for 59, and Caleb could use his feet a little bit here. Maybe he picks up 30, 40. I mean, if Purdy could run for 40, Caleb could run for 40, I would think. And, we saw Purdy go out with no Kittle, with no Debo last week and throw for 292 and 3 touchdowns. Kyler Murray also tore them up for 266 and 3. So, yeah, maybe Caleb finishes with, like 225, 250, 2 touchdowns, and he runs for another 30, 40. It gives you a pretty productive day. I did take the Rams in this game because you're going to give me McVay and freaking Stafford over Caleb and Matt Eberflus, and an underdog there with the Rams. I got to take it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And yeah, I mean, even with that crappy first half that we both talked about, he still finished with 23.32 points last week. So
I mean, he outscored. I was
Yeah.
looking at it like I was in a league, and I don't know. I forget who it was. I was going against Caleb because there's no turnovers in that game. So like he had more points than my quarterback that played like flaw. Oh, Jaden Daniels. He had more points than Jaden Daniels in fantasy because there was no turnovers taken. I'm like, you got to take turnovers off, man. Like what the fuck?
Yep. And I believe that was the other quarterback you wanted to mention, no?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be highly owned.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
mean, it's still worth mentioning,
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, cash leagues, 50-50s. I mean, tournament, you could still use him if you want. I don't hate it. I mean, he looks like he's going to be at about 18% ownership here. But Jaden Daniels, I mean, man, I went back and kind of rewatched all his throws. He just looked really, really damn good last week. Just so smart. And the way he avoids pressure, breaking tackles, he just looks really freaking smooth. And Terry McLaurin and him finally got it going. This is a pretty good matchup here against Arizona. It's a high total. I believe it's a 50 total here. So, yeah, everything's working in his favor. Maybe Gannon has something he could pull out of his ass here to kind of contain, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think Daniels is going to get it going. I like the way Luke McCaffrey looked last week. He almost got a touchdown. He got tackled about the 1 yard line, but he looks quick. So, I mean, no Eckler. Maybe that hurts him a little bit, but B-Rob could certainly get it done by himself. So, yeah, back and forth game. No McBride, but the Washington defense is ass. They're going to have to throw. Michael Wilson could step up for the Cardinals. So, yeah, Daniels highly owned, but, I mean, he should have another big-time day. And if you have Daniels in redraft or best ball, just looks like a very, very solid pick the rest of the way, no doubt about it.
It's funny how with just one Monday night performance, we're all in on these on these Commanders players now. That's it. We're all in. But
yeah, I mean, I was
kind
of in on Daniels. Like I said, even if the throwing's not there, like the running numbers, and we saw that in week 1, like he didn't really throw for a lot, but he was running all over the freaking place. And he actually, did cash me that one win I got that I showed you that first place win. That was basically because of Daniels, running in it at the end in that single entry tournament I did. So, yeah, I mean, this is a guy that could, 18% own his stuff. He's, again, highly owned in tournaments. So maybe you want to go somewhere else like a Fields, but cash game certainly looks nice.
Paul, we see your question. We'll answer that 1 second. We're going to talk about one more quarterback. This is a DFS show, but we will answer that question for you. But we just want to get through one more quarterback before, and then we'll answer that before we move on to running backs, unless Steve has another quarterback. But
yeah, we can mention a couple other guys, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit higher in cost than some of the players we're discussing. But I'm going Brock Purdy, 6,100, going up against the Patriots. I mean, do I think they're going to want to run the ball? Yes, but I also think that, and Steve, we talked about this in the group chat. I mean, you really talked about it, but this is a pissed off 49ers team.
Yeah.
This is a team that that should have won last week. They believe they should have won last week. Whatever you want to call it, if it's the coverage, which I think it is, if it's a defensive scheme, if it's whatever, if it's the injuries, I think that's a bullshit excuse. But either way, this is a pissed off 49ers team, and I think Brock Purdy comes out swinging here. Really, Kyle Shanahan dialing up with the play calling. George Kittle is back. He's off the injury report. Debo, he's questionable, but I don't think he plays. But I don't even think he needs to for Brock Purdy.
Trent Williams is a little iffy too, right?
Trent Williams, he had an illness earlier in the week. Then he showed up, and then his toe yesterday.
Yeah.
So it sounded like it was precaution that they were going to have him sit. I mean, he's questionable just because of the toe, but I think he still plays. Even if he doesn't play, this is a matchup where I think the 49ers can endure not having Trent Williams.
Let me ask you a question real quick. How much of it, like their offensive line, when they lose Trent Williams, what would you say? It's like average, or it's still above average without Trent Williams?
I'd say it's average, but okay. I do think they got a diamond in the rough, drafting Dominic Pooney. So yeah. Okay. But I still think that it's an average offensive line without Trent Williams. That's why they desperately had to get that guy in, get that guy in the building. But I think even if this is a situation where the Niners are blowing out the Patriots, which could be a thing, I think Brock Purdy would score enough points in even the first half with throwing the ball. Steve, you mentioned some of that rushing upside that's still there. Yeah, he had a dinged up back, but he's completely off the injury report now. So I like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, 26.78 points last week. 6,000 on DraftKings last week is only $100 more, so I'm rolling with it. Anthony, sorry, not Anthony, Steve. Am I wearing my am I wearing my 49er colored glasses there, or are you with me on Purdy?
No, I mean, I kind of like it. It's a little bit contrarian. Again, just 4.4% owned here. And you could certainly see a world, like you said, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to want to come out hot for their fans at home, 1-2 start, prevent that Super Bowl hangover. You get Kittle back, which is huge. And maybe they just maybe Purdy has like a Josh Allen type first half where he throws like 4 touchdowns in the first half, 250 yards, something like that. And then the rest of the way, they just, lean on Mason, maybe a little Isaac Guerendo, because Jacoby Brissett is terrible. He's not going to do much here in this spot. So I think the Patriots are going to go to Drake May at some point, maybe in a couple more weeks as they keep losing. So, yeah, I could see like Purdy just smashing early on, or maybe like a little bit into the third quarter, early and often here, creating some turnovers too by the defense, maybe a couple strip sacks and then some easy touchdowns. So, yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think it's a good contrarian here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so
couple more quarterbacks real quick.
Go for it. Do it.
CJ Stroud, he looks like he's going to be, kind of a low ownership at 5%. And he's playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense they're missing their starting safety. They're missing their starting linebacker. Olakun just went on the IR. They are all sorts of banged up. It's a hot mess in Jacksonville right now. I know that Tank Dell is out. Nico has a little bit of a hammy. So maybe that's why the ownership's a little bit lower here. But, Diggs could step up. Dalton Schultz could step up. You still got, I don't know why Robert Woods and Xavier Hutchinson are playing over Mechie, but maybe Mechie finally get some playing time. I thought he looked good. He kind of looked like he was back at, Bama, the way he looked in the preseason. But this could just be a spot where, Stroud just kind of, 3 touchdowns, maybe not a ton of yards, 250. But it could be like a little bit of a sneaky shootout too. I kind of like the total over here. I think it was 45. I was a little hesitant to take it because I didn't know if Nico was going to play, but sounds like he's a full go. He practiced it in full on Friday. He said he's definitely playing. So I kind of like the over more now. And I think Jacksonville will put up some points against this leaky Texas defense. So yeah, Stroud at 5%, I think is pretty nice. Burrow, obviously, and against the Panthers, he's going to be more highly owned. At 9%, but still not bad. I mean, Higgins another weekend. You got Yoshivas going off. You got Gesicki. They're going to want it. I mean, they got to win this freaking game. They cannot go 0-4 against freaking Carolina. And we saw Dalton look good last week. The Cincinnati defense, I mean, I think you got to give a little credit to the way Daniels played. Like, I don't think Lou Anarumo is that bad. So they'll probably play better here. But still, Dalton's going to be slinging the rock. I know Deontay's a little bit banged up. We'll talk about that. But this is another total that could go over, and I think Burrow is another good play, obviously, here.
Yeah. And I was gonna say Dalton's only 5,300. He's kind of log jammed with those other guys sitting at about a 4% as far as projected ownership.
Yeah, Dalton's another good one, right?
Yeah, and Paul, don't apologize because we're still going to answer your question. We appreciate questions, but Pete also said go Baylor Bears. I'm sure there's no money involvement in that rooting interest. I'm sure. He did ask Pete. He did ask us what's the biggest contest we've won. I don't remember the specific contest, but it was a couple years ago. I did win like a grand or two, something like that, off of a contest. And it was a Sunday main slate too. So, but yeah, I mean, did you ever pull anything big or decent?
I play. I mean, single entries is kind of my forte.
Mhm.
I think I won like a $5,000 a couple times on
Nice.
single entries. Also in NBA, I hit that too as well.
Mm.
The most I ever could have won, and I showed you guys, was in the Super Bowl last year. I
Yes.
mean, I went from like 50 grand, but I still won 3,000. But that was a single entry, $100 entry.
Yeah.
I went from
It's
like 50
crazy.
grand because that game went into overtime, and then freaking McCole Hardman's catching touchdowns. This guy had McCole Hardman, so that kind of killed me at the end. But I mean, I was in first, like all the way up to the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes left. So that
I
was
hate that.
that was like, but that's happened a lot. I mean, that happens in
Uh-huh.
DFS because
Yeah.
there's so many entries. And
Yep.
one passage changes everything. But I was really, that was the closest I ever came to winning big. But I would say, yeah, I definitely hit a couple $5,000 jobs. Then week one, I think, I came in first in that contest. I hit that 1,500. I think that was a single entry, like $50 or maybe $100, maybe like 300 teams. So, but
Which
the
by the
last
way,
2 weeks,
yeah.
2 weeks haven't been great.
Okay.
But that's why we're talking through it here, and we're going to
That's
prepare
right.
ourselves, and we're going to smash, and we'll hopefully everybody else can smash here as well.
And I am also going to put into the chat, and then we'll get to that one question we had, and then we'll get onto some running backs. But we are running a DFS contest this week. It's a $5 entry. Somebody who's in this room with me did not sign up yet, but I'm sure he will. Right?
Oh yeah, I'll get to it. I told you my
I'm
DFS,
fucking
man. It's
with you.
always like the last thing I'm fucking doing. That's why
Yeah.
I'm on this shit. You remind me, I'll get into it for sure.
Yeah.
I
So,
signed
but
up.
yeah.
I signed up for the last one. We just didn't fill it because we did it later though. So we
Yeah.
didn't have time.
We did it later. This one was set up. Right now we got 5 spots full. I think it's 15 people. Yeah, 15 people total. It's only a $5 entry. Prizes go out to first and second place.
I will sign up right while we're doing this show.
There you go. Fantastic. All right. So yeah, and then there it is on the screen, and you guys can feel free to click that link if you're over on the YouTube. And while you're on the YouTube, feel free to hit the like button and the subscribe button. But we will get to Paul, especially because he was apologetic, even though he doesn't need to be. We appreciate the questions always, even if it's not DFS, whatever. We'll fit it in. He said, "Hey guys, 12-man PPR. My wide receivers are London, Moore, and Flowers. Option to trade a London or a Moore for Devonta Smith out. He knows." Pull the trigger on one of them for Smith, question mark. So basically he's asking of those 2 wide receivers, would you trade one of them to get Devonta Smith? I don't think you need to. I mean,
No,
if you did,
I wouldn't trade London for
I don't even
Devonta.
think, I was going to say maybe London, but I don't even think I would do that.
Yeah, and maybe more either. I mean, he should be the number one, and Caleb's got some good matchups coming up. Again, I don't like Moore as much as last year. Flowers, even, it's kind of like, I don't think it's a trade you really need to make. And
Yeah.
I talked about this the other night when I was doing the NFL picks. Look at Roshan Johnson last year. He got smashed. He got hit real hard, and we just saw Devonta get hit real hard.
Real
We
hard.
don't know how long he's going to be out. This could be a couple week injury.
Never know.
I mean, we had Anthony Rizzo miss 3 months in baseball last year. Remember that, Mike? When he had that little thing. So you never know with these head injuries. So right now, man, I would just hold off trading for Devonta Smith until we get some more clarity.
Yeah, sometimes obviously there's trades that are out of necessity. This seems like it's not. This seems like you're just making a trade to make a trade. But I mean,
well, that's what happens.
if you want to give us some more context, we'll circle back on it. But never apologize for asking a question on this show because we appreciate the support. So there you go.
100%.
All right, let's dig into running backs here. And running backs for me, just taking a look at the prices and everything else, I just feel like there's a couple. I feel like we're all going to be high as far as taking the high ownership guys. I feel like a lot of the winning lineups are going to have these guys. I think there's ways to get more crafty in terms of the wide receivers. Tight end is a cesspool, which we'll get to. But Steve, if there is a if there's a running back that jumps out to you, and again, we're probably going to talk about some higher ownership guys here, just because the way the week looks to me and some injuries. But what says you here?
I think, well, I'll go with one of the lower owned guys. A little bit lower anyway from the top guys. It's going to be Aaron Jones at 6,400. 17%, compare that to Mason 30, Najee 26, Brian Robinson 21, Brees, Bijan, Kyron, all 20%. So he's under the radar a little bit as far as running back. And this is, I guess you could say, I mean, he was kind of beloved, but the Green Bay Packers fans, like, they're just like happy-go-lucky, right? They're really going to go out just kind of like a revenge game, but maybe it is. I mean, he was kind of underutilized his whole career there. Not being behind freaking AJ Dillon, behind Jamal, mixing with Jamal Williams when it was clear as day. He was always their best running back, and then he's got this tag that he can't handle the full load. I mean, I guess you could say that because he's taken a lot of injuries, but I think he could. Sometimes these injuries are just a little bit freakish. But Jones is definitely an underrated player. He's an underrated running back. He's still got great burst. He's playing in a great system by Kevin O'Connell, in somewhat of a revenge game here. So I think he's undervalued a little bit this week. Again, lower. The revenge game going, baby. So yeah, I like Aaron Jones at 6,400, with a little bit lower ownership there compared to the other guys.
Yeah, if I'm going with a guy this week, we talked about earlier when Steve mentioned a couple of the of the Commanders players, and what a difference a good week makes. I feel the same about the Carolina Panthers. I'll say this though: there's obviously way more potential for Andy Dalton to fall back down to earth than there is for Jaden Daniels. They're on different trajectories, but just in the meantime, I like this offense right now. So therefore, I like Chuba Hubbard, one of the top running backs this past week. His ownership, I believe, is around 18% right now, which, again, I'm just accepting the fact that I'm not going to find a ton of gems low there at the running back position. So Chuba is where I'm going here. The Bengals, let me take a look at this Bengals defense. I believe they're, what are they, middle of the road in points led to running backs? I'm double checking that now. Yeah,
16,
they're kind of middle of the road.
16.
Yeah,
DraftKings scoring. Yep.
Yeah. So, but again, you saw how different Chuba looked in this offense last week with a competent quarterback as opposed to Bryce Young. And I mean, our own Anthony Servino mentioned it multiple times this week. He's in a position now where Jonathan Brooks is coming back. And so there could be that sort of inspiration to play well, kind of take off, make sure he's going to get some work, even when the rookie is healthy and ready to go. So I like Chuba Hubbard this week. I think he does some damage. What says you, Steve, in terms of Chuba? You down or?
No, I don't mind it. I think he's clearly the main guy. He finally took a step up over Miles Sanders, where the first couple of weeks they were kind of mixing together. I think Canales realized that Sanders is just kind of toast a little bit, and Chuba is the better player here. So yeah, I agree with that narrative too. Brooks is kind of waiting in the wings. They're saying he's getting close. So yeah, he's going to have to come out and have a big game here. The Bengals defense has been somewhat leaky against running backs, allowing some big runs to Eckler last week, some usage in the passing game to Eckler as well last week. So yeah, Chuba could definitely in a high scoring game, kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'll point out is Chuba right now has a 11% target share in this offense. And that would make him tied for third on the team, except Adam Thielen, who was second, is now on the IR, who had a 14% target share.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of talent there. So it's like they got to run the football and throw to Deontay, who's a little bit banged in coming this week too. And then we'll see what Xavier Legette does. But
I'm not as I'm sorry to interrupt, but and I know he's a wide receiver, and we'll get to wide receiver. I'm not as worried about Deontay Johnson because it seemed like he had a bit of a groin issue, but it sounded like the reason he sat that Thursday practice had more to do with the field conditions than it did.
Yeah, That's what they said, and I think he came back to practice Friday as
Yeah.
expected. So yeah,
So
maybe we're just overthinking a little bit, or I'm
yeah.
overthinking. But yeah, groin issues. But yeah, I'm not worried. I still would use him, but he is highly owned. I mean, he's going to be
Yeah.
very highly owned. But yeah,
Yes.
you're right. Chuba's like the only other guy. I mean, there's really nobody else. So
Yeah, I mean, one of those other guys, whether it's Xavier Leggett, Mingo, I guess.
Mingo, yeah,
Jesus,
he
it's gross.
stinks.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
it is. They have no tight end to speak of again. Like Tommy Tremble and freaking, Jatavian Saint. It's just a hot mess. Like,
I love Jatavian Sanders back in Texas, back in
yeah,
college, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's going to translate to the NFL, especially right now, fucking
right,
out of nowhere, guys got
right.
a 4% target share, so I don't see it. But is there another running back for you that you like? I mean, you talked about Brian Robinson earlier. You can mention him again if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I
If
mean,
anybody else.
he's like, number 6 in ownership, or he's right with Brees and Kyron. But Brian Robinson, well, actually, he's third. I'm sorry, I was looking at Bijan, but he's right around all those guys, 21%. Brees Hall's 20, Bijan's 20, Kyron's 20. But yeah, no Eckler this week. And you could say, well, maybe they're going to be down against Arizona because their defense is trash. But I think he's an underrated receiving running back. Wide receiving running back. Wow, too much coffee here in the morning.
I guess so. You sound
But
like me last night when I was drinking Jack on
wide
the Rocks.
receiving running back. Shit, but he's an underrated receiver as a running back. So he's a beast, man. He's going to be heavily utilized. Again, not a lot of guys in this offense either. It's Terry McLaurin. I like Luke McCaffrey a little bit this week and going forward, but like De'Ami Brown and Zacchaeus and like Zach Ertz is 97 years old. So yeah, I think Brian Robinson, again, highly owned, but I still think you could use him in cash and tournaments. And I think he's going to have a big game. This guy is a really, really good player.
Yeah. Really quick, only because you talked about coffee. Pete asked, question for the panel. You don't have to answer right away. Does Red Bull really give you wings? It does, but those wings are even bigger when you mix it with alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they
Red
fly
Bull
off when you're in mid-flight, and then you fucking
you feel like a little bit of a crackhead afterwards.
yeah.
Yep.
It's good. It's good times though. Don't knock it till you try. That's what I tell everybody. Anyway, all right. A running back I like, and this is the most captain obvious thing, except for the fact that his ownership is lower than I thought it would be, at least as per fantasy points. I mean, Saquon Barkley right now has only got 9% ownership.
Yeah.
Maybe people are focusing on on those other top players that they think are going to succeed. The guys at the top. I mean,
the price at $8,000, but
the
yeah,
price
9%.
at $8,000, sure. But if you can, like I said earlier before we just started to talk about running backs, I said there's ways to get crafty at wide receiver for me personally. I think so. And tight end, again, it's a mess. But so if you could wiggle around those price points, and if you can get Saquon Barkley in there, who's at a high cost, but he's only projected ownership is only 9%. I don't like Jalen Hurts in this matchup all that much. The pass catchers are obviously struggling there. No Devonta Smith. I think AJ Brown's officially questionable, but he's not going to play, right? We're not assuming.
It's close. I think he practiced in a limited fashion on Friday, so he's going to be a game time decision.
And Hurts' last 4 meetings against the Buccaneers, he's averaged 225 passing yards. He hasn't thrown for more than 1 touchdown in any of those games. He has had the rushing, obviously, which is always there for Jalen Hurts. But so I think Saquon Barkley is going to get fed yet again. So I mean, again, this is one of those. Yes, it's obvious, but like Steve mentioned, the cost is high, so you have to find a way to fit him in there.
Yeah.
But
you could do it. You could do it if you hit on the right receivers, the right quarterbacks. Like if you go cheap with a Purdy or a Justin Fields or even a Caleb, you could find more ways to work these guys in. But yeah, I mean, agree. I mean, Lane Johnson, he's still got a clear concussion protocol, but he practiced in a limited fashion. Sounds like he's going to be back. We don't know about AJ Brown. Devonta's already ruled out, so it's going to be a lot of Goddard, a lot of Saquon. Now, Vita Vea could come back. Obviously, that would help big time for this Bucs run defense. But still, I mean, Saquon's looked excellent. This offensive line is top notch for the Eagles. Todd Bowles and company and the Bucs do have the Eagles number a little bit. I mean, they've won 2 out of the past 3. They didn't have Saquon though, so maybe things changed a little bit with Saquon in the mix. I did take the Bucks this week against the spread though.
I'll only bring this up because I said we would periodically answer some fantasy questions, and it is about running backs, and we just talked about one of them.
We do it all.
So
We do it all. We do it all in this show. NFL
that's
picks, DFS, answer questions.
yes,
Do it all.
multitasking,
Crack out on coffee and alcohol, whatever. Red Bulls. Let's go.
fucking up, talking about player positions, whatever. We got it. We're good. We're good. But
All
Rob, yeah, that's your name. That's your name, and I'm sticking to it. You're over on YouTube. God bless you. He said, "Should I start Chuba or Ford for my flex?" I'm going. This is obviously just a fantasy football question. I'm going Chuba Hubbard here. No, I'm not really even thinking about it. That much.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, Ford had like a knee injury. He missed Wednesday's practice. He came back Thursday. Foreman wasn't really used a lot last week after using, he did fumble in that game. So maybe that has something to do with it, but he was like barely used. And then Pierre Strong's out once again. You wonder if maybe Foreman gets more carries this week with this little bit of a knee issue for Jerome Ford. That is definitely a concern. Now, Jerome Ford could take it all, and it's a good matchup here.
Sure.
But again, their offensive line is missing a bunch of guys too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I prefer Chuba as well.
He added to that later that the only reason why he was considering Ford is because they're playing the Raiders and there's no Max Crosby.
Right.
So I get it. I get that's why that would change or make you think about it, but I'm still going Chuba Hubbard.
You got to remember though, like even if a star player is out, I mean, it happens all the time. The other guys just elevate their play as a whole a lot of times too. So sometimes the defense looks better for like a week or two when their star player is out, just because everybody else is kind of like stepping up their responsibilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we do have a question here from Chris. Speaking of running backs, he said Kenneth Walker healthy. Thoughts for exposure with him? Well, right now his ownership is nowhere right now.
Yeah, I mean he's Monday night, so
yeah, he's Monday night.
Yeah, so it's the last game on Monday night. So yeah, I mean you're looking at that slate there. Let me see if I can pull this up here.
I mean, I do like what Seattle has done. As Steve is looking that up, I do like what Seattle has done with the running back position so far. They have been more than fantasy relevant, in my opinion. They're not, they're gonna be gracing the cover of Madden, but I do like the fantasy production there. So yeah, I mean, I would roll with them. Now, the thing to keep in mind with Monday, there's 2 Monday night games. So instead of doing a showdown with just one game, you can do the two. You can do the 2 games. So you can, we'll see what Kenneth Walker is going to look like there in terms of that Monday night matchup. But Steve, did you find what you were looking for there?
No, I don't see it here.
What
but if he's playing, I mean, Kenneth Walker, I mean, he looked absolutely like a beast week 1, and they committed. Even Charbonnet looked great. Looked great, but he looked good last week too. So this team is committing to the run more so. They're finding their run game looks better with this guy Grubb compared to Shane Waldron, who he's taking a lot of slack. For last year, Geno had a down year.
Yep.
And then this year the offense looks kind of stale a little bit as well. So it looks like an upgrade offensively with the coordinator in Seattle. So yeah, I mean, if Kenneth Walker's out there now, he's had this abdominal issue a little bit, going back to last year, like he had hernia surgery as well. But I mean, it sounds like he's ready to go. So they're going to give him all the looks. He's going to be hungry. It's Monday night. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the ownership's going to be, but again, it's just a small slate, and you're going to do showdown.
Yeah.
If you want to do showdown, you put him as the captain there. I don't mind it.
Yeah. I mean, with the way
and the Lions' run defense is good, so probably not a lot of people are going to be on that too. So that's something to think about.
Just piggybacking only because it's another Ken Walker question, but this one's more just fantasy related. I get my words out. Related to both players that are playing on Monday Night Football, Kenneth Walker or Tony Pollard, full point per reception. I think if Walker plays, I'm going Walker over Pollard, even though I've been encouraged by what Pollard's done with the exception of last week. I think I'd still go Walker there, but I think that's a close one. I think they finished within a few points, one other potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer Walker. A little more, I prefer Walker as a running back. Obviously, the matchup is better for Pollard. The Lions are currently number 1 against running backs. He's coming off an injury. If you want to go Pollard against the Miami defense that, is a little bit banged up, they haven't looked that great. Charbonnet just kind of tore them up last week. I do like, I mean, the total in this game is 36. I think the game's going over. We just saw Huntley get announced as a starter. I think that's going to help the Miami offense after the shit show that
talking positive about Will Levis. I'll fucking throw my beer at the screen.
Well, I'm not going to pick Will Levis amongst those other guys in yesterday's show, but I do think that he could throw maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns here, and this game could go over. And I think Pollard's going to have a pretty good game here. So you know what? I mean, maybe I prefer Pollard here just because of the run defense of the Lions and his first game back from injury.
Here's some clever stuff. We'll just answer for the fucking fun of it. WW Fresh says, what are your credentials for telling people who to put their cash down on? My credentials are that I spend way too long looking at football, making spreadsheets, watching film, watching prices from week to week on where they go, winning some money on the side. Those are my credentials, and if you don't like them, you don't have to listen to me. That's fine. I don't really...
I'm trying to get my degree in DFS masterdom. I'm still an understudy.
Yeah, I'm going to Apex Auto School for that.
Eventually I'll get that. I'll get that degree. But yeah, man, we're just two guys who absolutely love football. We eat, sleep, and shit football. I mean, we do this every day, all day long. So we hope that we can help you guys with your process, meanwhile helping our process at the same time.
He did also add on, can I purchase a winning FanDuel lineup from you guys? Well, we're more so talking DraftKings today, but then he also added on, it's going to win, though. I mean, whenever you set a lineup, that's got to be your expectation. But we appreciate the
I don't play a lot of FanDuel. I should play more FanDuel.
I was actually thinking that recently, too, though. I should hop in there.
DraftKings has kind of been a little suspect to me in the past with some things. Well, it was that freaking, there was that Slate. I forget what happened. I can't remember what the freak happened. There was like I remember. No, I entered a couple DFS lineups and then their site wasn't working. So I just entered, I reserved my spot and I went back later to put my lineups in. Their site wasn't working. I tried several times. I emailed them and they said, sorry, but we can't do anything. And then I started bitching and complaining, talking about lawyers. And then they said, all of a sudden, I got my money back. So that was a little suspect, but I kind of want to like get back at him a little bit here and take some of the money out more. But I definitely want to get after FanDuel a little bit and mix it up a little bit here.
You know what?
I know FanDuel's a little bit different there because it's just half PPR.
Right. But yeah, I think WW Fresh has inspired us to maybe set a FanDuel on him. So in a weird way, thank you. There you go.
Definitely.
Let me see this. What else we got here? I was seeing. Oh, Tron Force said. Tron Force. Yeah, he said it was funny yesterday when he put the Will Levis photo on the screen. It was not fucking funny. It was not funny.
I thought it was pretty funny actually.
Yeah, you know what?
But I call him Willie Fubu's. You know, that's my nickname for. He's like he has so much arm talent. I remember watching like all his games last year. He's like a Jeff George, Jameis Winston. Like he can make some big throws, but at the next thing, he's just going to throw the game away with some stupid ass play.
Yeah.
So I call him, instead of Willie Levi's jeans, which are nice jeans to wear. I think Levi's still a very reputable brand. Fubu's, I mean, those are fucking shot. You find those like some freaking thrift store that on the hood somewhere or some shit. I don't even know, or like like Ross and like maybe all the way back in the warehouse in the back there. So Willie Fubu's has shown himself more than Willie Levis so far.
And this is going to get lost in the shuffle, and then we'll get on to if we have any other running backs, we can mention more. We're getting to wide receivers, but I'm just going to say, and you can go to yesterday's show for this. Basically, it's a 3-way pizza bet. Anthony had the audacity to take Will Levis. Pete took Anthony Richardson. I took Andy Dalton. So we'll see who finishes with most points. I loved Will Levis coming out of college. I actually have a tweet saved. I find it somewhere that says, I'm a Will Levis guy. I had it back just after the draft. But Anthony's not going to want to hear that anymore now because I said I don't like him during 1 week.
Yeah, there's a clip. There's a clip now between that little debate that you guys had, which I thought was excellent, by the way, between you three guys. So go check that out on the YouTube page.
I was at my wit's end with that shit when he mentioned Will Levis.
I know you were fucking like he was all in on Will Levis too. It was great.
And like out of nowhere, he's all the chips are all in. That's it. I'm in. Tron went on to say, I won $964 on an $11 DraftKings Showdown tournament last year. Nice. God bless you, dude.
I mean,
Good shit, man.
I kind of like the smaller tournaments sometimes. They just seem
So
like
do I.
you get all these different players. It seems a little harder sometimes. I like the showdowns or like the smaller slates sometimes.
Now, do we have any other running backs we wanted to mention?
I mean Jordan Mason, obviously, but he's going to be the highest owned
Yeah,
guy.
that's the
So
thing with these running
pretty,
backs.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much cash only.
Yeah.
Cam Akers, again, no more. Joe Mix. I don't expect Joe Mixon to come back with that high
Yeah, I don't
ankle.
think he plays either.
Pierce has already been ruled out. He's kind of highly owned. I'm trying to look here. Where is Akers? Oh, actually,
Yeah,
you
he's
know what?
down.
Yeah, he's actually pretty high. You know what? I screwed it up. One site had 1%, and the other site had 20%. So it was actually the opposite of what I said. But I think he'll be definitely higher owned than that. Cam Akers
Yeah.
without these guys in a pretty good matchup here against the Jacksonville defense,
He'll
all
probably be
banged
top
up.
5 in ownership,
Yeah, yeah. So, Cam Akers, I'm kind of rooting for the guy. Back-to-back Achilles injuries. I don't mind him in this matchup. I'm trying to look for some other spots
I
here.
would just like to see some as you're taking a look. I mean, I would like Cam Akers if there's no Joe Mixon. I would just like to see a little more with the rush attempts. I feel like we didn't really get a ton.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure what
they were down in
yeah,
that game, so they really weren't running.
yeah,
And plus, it's a tough defense, but just 5,300, so it's a pretty good price. Um, Jerome Ford is a good matchup.
sure.
5,700. That's not a bad one either. Again, the Raiders a little bit banged up on defense. Najee, again, he's going to be highly owned with Jalen Warren out. But again, Cordell Patterson, I think he's going to be involved. Like Artie Smith loves this guy, and he still looks pretty good. Cordell Patterson, even at 31 years old, he's still got some juice.
He flashes
So,
here and there.
I mean, that could be like maybe you want to fade Najee a little bit there, because he's going to be highly owned. But just 5,600 for Najee. Zach Moss at 5,900. Rashad White at 6,000. Forget about him if Bucky Irving's in the mix. Ramondre Stevenson 6,200. I don't think you consider him. Dobbins, the Chargers offensive line is a complete disaster right now. That they have 2 big injuries. We don't know if Herbert's really going to play. Even if he does play, he's got a high ankle sprain. So yeah, there's not really a lot here outside the guys you mentioned. Kyron, that's a good one. But again, the Bears defense is pretty tough. 7,300.
Yep. Yeah, they are.
Bijan, they have some injuries on the offensive line.
Yeah.
7,400 against New Orleans. So I don't know if I want to pay the price for
I
him.
don't think I am.
Jonathan Taylor, 7,700. And then Breece Hall, even against a tough Denver defense, with Braylon Allen mixing in. So I think Saquon, again, 8,000 with the low ownership. That's the guy you want to use for the high price guys.
Yep. And we'll discuss potentially a way to do that as we're going to get into some wide receivers. We'll just answer 2 quick questions here. They're not DFS related, but again, we love you guys. We appreciate the support. So we'll answer these 2 quick. Josh Truss over on the YouTube says, "What's up, guys? Trade Levis, Pollard, Calvin Austin, Theo Johnson, and a 26 second for Drake May and Brian Robinson in half point per reception. Tight end premium dynasty. He's got Joe Milton already.
Super flex, tight end premium dynasty.
I apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do it. I mean, Drake May at this point, I think his prospects are much better than Willie Levi's, Fubu's, who could get replaced by Matt Damon from School Ties. You ever seen that movie, Mike, by the way?
No, but I just thought about
but
I just thought about the Team America movie when they're making fun of Matt Damon. And Matt Damon. Okay. So,
that's anyway. A great movie. It's a little bit of a football movie too. It pretty much is. It is pretty much a football movie. So his character kind of represents Mason Rudolph to me. But that certainly seems possible at some point. Pollard, Robinson might seem like kind of a wash. And Calvin Austin, I don't know if he's ever really going to be a full thing. We'll see about Theo Johnson, with Daniel Jones as the quarterback, but maybe next to move. But I would, and you're giving up the second, but I like getting Drake May in the super flex and Brian Robinson there.
Yep. I would do the deal. The draft pick to me doesn't feel necessary, but I also don't like it's it's 2 years away. It's one of those things like, let's just swipe the credit card and then we'll worry about it later. I'm not sweating. I'm not losing sleep in 2024 over a 2026 second rounder. So,
and you could definitely whiff on that pick anyway. Like how many times does he whiff? Even first round picks are whiffed all the time. So
yeah. One other question, and then we will go to wide receivers. Red and Black is asking over on the YouTube, hey, fellas, thinking about dropping Javonte Williams for Carson Steele. My RBs are Henry, Monty, J.K. Stevenson, Ford. I'd make the switch. I would just say, eventually, obviously, Pacheco will be back down the line. Carson Steele, to me, though, it's weird. He's getting volume, but he's not doing a ton with it. Like, you need Carson Steele to fall into the end zone
Yeah,
to be like, hey, that was a good week. Because
right.
besides that, he's going to get a lot of volume, but he's not, to me, based on what I saw against the Falcons, he didn't look like a lot of like he's getting past the first tackler.
Yeah, he moves the pile a little bit though. He's definitely a
Yeah,
strong runner.
sure.
Pretty good efficiency, 17 for 72. But you're right, he's not getting a lot in the passing game. Now Kareem
Yeah.
Hunt's stepping up this week, but who knows what Kareem Hunt's got left at this point. He also had like some kind of hernia surgery in the offseason. Maybe P Ryan CEH could come back soon. It sounds like he might come back soon from the PTSD thing. So yeah, it might just be a case where Steele is just like their runner and doesn't really catch a bunch of passes. But I don't know. I mean, I don't
He
know
did
who's bet.
add. I'm sorry. Just if this helps your answer, he did add that it's a full point per reception. If that
Yeah.
sways you in any way.
I mean, I don't know about Javonte either. Like the offensive line is not really blocking too well. He doesn't really look that great. I mean, these guys kind of look about the same. I mean,
Yeah.
to me right now, for the most part. And Tyler Batty looked pretty good. Maybe he gets some more work this week, but that probably comes at the expense of McLaughlin more than Javonte because Javante's still great in pass protection. But then you got Audric Estime in the wings too. Maybe he kind of steps up at some point. So, I mean, I don't mind it. Pacheco, like Mike said, will be back eventually. Says 6 to 8 weeks, but
Right.
they said they found something in his ankle as well too. So like some
No,
kind of
I missed
ligament
that report.
damage too. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to keep him out longer. We don't know. He could, but maybe he's not back to the fantasy playoffs. But I don't mind it if you want to do that. But it could just be like a wash the rest of the way.
Josh saying, thanks, guys, for answering the questions earlier. No problem, buddy. All right, let's get into these wide receivers. Steve, you mentioned it. Deontay Johnson was going to be one of the higher projected ownerships, and he is 29%. Yikes. I mean, I'll probably still have him in a couple lineups, but just kind of know, it also depends on when we're talking about the projected ownership. It does depend on the field you're in.
Yeah.
Like how many people are in there, so on and so forth. So, kind of keep that in mind as you're picking a contest and trying to equate that with these ownerships. But Steve, is there a wide receiver for you that jumps out? And again, we'll get into some big picks. We'll get into some crafty picks again if you want to get a Saquon in there. But yeah, Steve, what jumps out to you at a wide receiver here?
Well, I'm going to start with George Pickens. I already talked about Fields. So we'll go down to Pickens. He's at 6%. Might be a little bit higher than that. Maybe he's more like 10. We'll see. It's going to vary. But George Pickens is a guy that could kind of break a slate because he's that type of player. He's just an explosive, athletic receiver who's got size, who's got speed, who's got strength. And, he's gone through some tough matchups against Atlanta, going against AJ Terrell, then Patrick Surtain in week 2. But if you watch that game in week 2, again, there was like 2 or 3 offensive pass interferences. And I think Surtain has like 6 or 7 pass interferences this year. So he's kind of mugging guys a little bit. And then I know PFF had him like ranked way down as far as corners. I think it was way too low, obviously. But, maybe there's something to be said with the pass interferences and stuff like that. And then Pickens did score in that game as well, got called back. There was another deep pass that was called back for a holding. I think Fields like made a money throw rolling out right on the money to hit him. So last week, 7 targets, 57 yards against the Chargers, but that was kind of a weird game script because Herbert was out. He came out. So the Pittsburgh didn't really have to do anything against Tyler Heineke. They could just kind of, just slow and steady, run the football. And that's kind of what they want to do anyway. I mean, this week against the Colts, man, I really like it. Again, the Colts defense is a little bit banged up. They're missing their starting corner. They're missing Pay. They're missing Buckner again. So I like this combo. It's a cheap enough price. The ownership's low enough, and Pickens could go off for, 120, 130 yards, maybe a touchdown, maybe two, just 5,700. So when Mike talks about that ROI, that return on investment, Pickens is certainly a guy that fits the bill.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a low cost guy here. Now listen, the matchup isn't the best, but I'm going with Darnell Mooney here of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New Orleans Saints. I had mentioned it on the show recently, which again, by the way, if you hit subscribe, you'd be notified every time we go live. Darnell Mooney's got a 23% target share. It's only 1% less than Drake London, who leads the team. And Drake London's going to be seeing some tough coverage on Sunday. I think that bodes well for Mooney to have a good game. And, especially when you talk about DraftKings, where it's full point per reception, you look at those last 2 weeks. Week 1 was rough against the Steelers, but it was rough for the whole offense. He only had 2.5 points. Week 2, 17.8. Then against the Chiefs, 14.6. That was 8 receptions back in week 3. It caught all 8 of his targets, too. 8 of 8. So not too bad. And I say it every single time I talk about Darnell Mooney. Kirk Cousins physically wanted Darnell Mooney on this team, and they brought him in. So clearly the quarterback likes him. If the quarterback likes him, we're seeing it with the target share. And I think this could be a sneaky play here. Again, just 4,400. I don't even see him in terms of, I would look up and down the roster ownership there. I didn't even see him on there. And even if he is, he's probably at 4% or less. He's very likely less.
He's actually at
where is he?
10%.
Is he? I didn't see that. Well, I'll still take him.
Yeah.
I'll still take him. Take
that's
him.
Not bad. He's still down the line. And he's right. And Drake London is 11%. So, I mean, you think maybe Drake will be a little bit higher than that, just based on the name and the pedigree. But Mooney has that salary difference of 6,200 to 4,400. But I agree. Anything else you want to say on that before I get into it?
I was just going to ask you, do you think that that's something more about London, like London being lower than you would have anticipated? Do you think that's more so about the coverage he's going to face?
Yeah, I think it's the Lattimore thing.
Yeah.
Obviously. And Mooney's kind of been on par with him a little bit, other than the touchdowns as far as receiving and targets and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Mooney, man, he's always been solid. People forget he had 1,000 yards with Justin Fields like a couple of years ago. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. He's a good route runner. He's got good speed. And yeah, I mean, Kirk was sitting on those sidelines with the Vikings watching this guy, produce, look good on the field. So he knew what was up. And I like kind of moving down to Mooney off Drake London. Now, Drake London certainly could have the better game, but again, you got to pay the bigger price there. So yeah, I'm with agreement with you. I like that as a cheap pick there. And then we're talking about fitting Saquon into our lineups. You put a guy like Mooney at 4,400, it makes it easier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are getting asked. WW Fresh came back into the chat. I'm not sure how you want to handle this one, Steve, but he did say, "How much do you charge for a lineup? I don't have time to listen to you guys." Well, that's okay. Don't sweat, dude. If you're busy,
just send us a message if you want to talk off air. We'll talk about charges.
If you're on X, I'm not sure if you are WW Fresh. You could let me or Steve know. Like if you DM me at the FF Realist, I will loop in Steve and we'll talk and we'll help you out. We'll put together a lineup. But I will say
Saturday, man, people got things to do. They got to go apple picking. They got to go pumpkin picking soon. So
pumpkin picking, you're just picking all the shit. I get it. Yeah, I get it, man. We all got lives. All good. I'm just saying. I do think I had the idea in my head. I think as we start to go on here with this show, I do think maybe towards the end of the show, we won't have to do it today, but we should do it for the future. We should set up like a lineup, just bounce back and forth.
Yeah,
100%. You and I, and just put together a lineup. He is commenting some more. He said, "Thanks, bro. Can you just give me a winning lineup instead? I want to make sure it wins, though. You guys are winners." So it's very kind. All right, maybe we'll put something together towards the end of the show. But the problem is that if we put something together for you, everyone else is going to hear it. Just throwing that out there. But fuck it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll throw together a lineup towards the end.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we'll throw people off a little bit too with it.
Sure. Yeah.
It won't be our A+ lineup. Maybe it'll be like our A- lineup.
Well, he doesn't want to hear that shit. He said he wants a win. Damn it, Steve.
We gotta you gotta DM us for the A+. Go on.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Or you got to send a nice little, little super chat in there.
Yeah. You guys on FanDuel or DraftKings, we are predominantly DraftKings, even though you inspired us, WW Fresh, to maybe dabble with the FanDuel. But I'm predominantly DraftKings, more so really just because I love full point per reception.
Yeah,
that's just always my wheelhouse. So that's why I always tend to roll with DraftKings. So, but all right. So, okay. He keeps commenting. He said, my wife is annoying me, but I got a few minutes. Listen, my wife used to annoy me too. That's why I'll be divorced in the next couple of months after some legal proceedings.
That's why I cleaned like 97,000 pots the other day so I could get my wife off my back.
There you go. Even though she put your hat in the wash. I mean, Steve, do you want to just throw a FanDuel lineup together for this guy quick? Because he said he's got a few minutes. It's what
are you signed into FanDuel? I probably don't even know my password. I haven't signed in so long.
You know what? We're gonna give you, because it's easier for us. We're gonna give you a DraftKings. We're both signed into DraftKings. That's our wheelhouse. Let's throw together a DraftKings lineup for him. Fuck it, right? This is our first
now, or you want to finish the receivers first?
Well, because he said he's only got a few minutes because his wife's annoying him. So
all right,
so this let's just listen. First show, we're just gonna go off the whatever. So, all right, let's just do this, okay? We're gonna pick a quarterback for him. We talked about quarterbacks earlier. Where would you lean here if you're picking a quarterback? And mind you, we're probably going to be thinking about stacks as well.
I mean, I'm going to go with Fields. If you want to go with a higher owned guy, that's fine too. But
no, I was debating saying going Caleb Williams, but I have no problem going Fields.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fields there.
Okay, so let's plug in Fields. Now, the running backs, we talked about this. We're probably going to be more on the top end.
Do we want to try to fit Saquon in there?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. All right. So let's make Saquon one. Because again, we mentioned, well, most people would think that's obvious. Well, but he's only 9% right now as far as his projected ownership. So, and that's due in large part to his $8,000 cost. Now, we're going to want to go a little bit on the lower end here. I mean, we can try. I was going to say we could try a B-Rob, or, one running back that we didn't mention, who I do think is sneaky. There's also Zach Moss this week. There is Chuba Hubbard, who we did talk about. I don't mind taking swings on either of those guys.
I mean, B-Rob's only 400 more than those guys, so I think I'd prefer B-Rob.
All right, so let's plug him in.
Okay.
Now let's go down to wide receiver, which we were already talking wide receiver. So this is
what we should do first. I think we should pick our defense. Let's pick our defense first.
Do it. Yeah. All right.
And then we can figure out, kind of what we're looking at.
Why did I say like I'm in seventh grade?
Vikings defense 2,900. I mean, I like that. I mean, Jordan Love may come back, but they're talking about packages with Malik Willis. So I don't know if they want to bring Jordan Love back against this ferocious Vikings defense with a gimpy knee. So they might be seeing other Malik Willis. I know Malik Willis has looked good the first 2 weeks, and he's certainly running very well. But this Vikings defense looks legit right now, man. And I know this is the battle of like great coaching here between LaFleur, O'Connell, and then freaking Flores. But I know 2,900. I mean, that's pretty good for the Vikings either.
It is good for the Vikings D. I was actually just curious. We don't have to, we can go Vikings defense,
or we can go Texans. Texans at 3,000.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go Texans only because the Jaguars are reeling. But I was just curious. What do you think about the Broncos this week, defensive wise? Going up against the Jets.
I think the Jets are going to run the ball a lot. I think Rodgers is smart enough. Their offensive line seems to be gelling a little bit now. So I'm not crazy about the Broncos. I don't think Rodgers is going to make any big mistakes,
We did get, I hear you. We did get added here because WW Fresh is commanding the chat, which we appreciate, by the way. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. But I like James Conner over Brian Robinson, especially for leverage against the field, which does make sense.
Yeah, and he's 400 more, but if we want to you want to throw in Connor for this guy, we could do that.
It's if it's what he wants, sure,
All right, so
let's see how it goes, and
we'll
then
put Connor instead of B Rob there.
we'll put in Connor. But then if we're up against the wall price wise, then we're gonna pivot back. So,
Okay.
all right,
All
let's
right, so
go.
we got our defense with the Texans. Do you want
Yep,
to pick our tight end now?
sure, we could do that. Yeah. So right now we've got Justin Fields, we've got Saquon Barkley, James Conner for now, and the Texans defense. We're gonna pick tight end in what I said earlier has been a cesspool.
All right, so I think I got a nice cheap one here.
Oh,
What do you think about Taysom Hill? Coming back from injury, but he sounds like he's fine. Sounds like Olave, they don't know how serious the hammy injury is yet.
Sure.
Even
Yeah,
Kamara was a little bit banged up in practice this week. So I mean, 3,800, you save a lot of money there. You could go Cole Kmet. Is there anybody else you like there?
I was actually going to say Cole Kmet to you. So, but
we could go Goddard 5,100.
Yeah, we can go Goddard too, but I feel like Goddard's going to be one of the higher owned guys, especially off of last week, especially with the injuries.
Big time.
I'm waiting for this to load up here. Yeah. Right now he's got a 14% projected ownership, which is the highest among tight ends. You know what? You
got Gesicki at 35, Conklin at 36.
Let's go Cole Kmet here.
Okay. And even with Keenan Allen coming back.
Well, right now you got me thinking about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is on my mind right now.
One other one too, I don't think is terrible, is Freiermuth at 3,900.
No,
he's he's like 5 for 30, 4 for 30. Yeah, it's not a great one. Yeah, maybe Taysom's the one.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go Taysom. Actually,
okay.
Practice in fall on Wednesday.
Right, high upside there.
Yep.
All right, so let's look at the receivers now.
That makes up for us spending a couple bucks more for James Conner.
Right. So our average remaining player right now is 5,800.
Yeah. So, all right. So wide receiver here. I do think, let's just get this out of the way now. I do think we want to stack, right? We want to stack Justin Fields.
Yeah, of course. So there you go. Pickens 5,700.
Yeah. So Pickens is a lock, which I'm completely fine with. Pickens has looked good with the exception of that game against the Broncos. I mean, 13.5 points in week 1. 10.7 last week. You'd like a little more, but my dog is barking. He can go to hell. Yeah. So there you go. What is he adding here? We're getting a lot here from WW Fresh. He said, "I want Kelsey tomorrow, 100%. They're playing the Chargers. I don't care if he did nothing through 3 weeks." Well, I don't know. I mean, at some point, you are asking us.
He's 5,800. We'll see if we can work him in.
We'll see. We'll check it out. I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to be a hard no, but
yeah.
Can he stop barking? What the fuck is going on with that guy?
You want to go with Mooney at 4,400?
I will take Mooney at 4,400 because then I feel like that allows us to get a little more frisky. Whereas after this, we'll only have to fill a flex and then one more wide receiver.
Do you want to do a bring back with that Steelers stack, maybe with Alec Pierce at 5,000, or do you just want to go somewhere else?
Well, I always like bringing it back. But I think here's the thing.
Or we could do Downs as well.
I would personally rather go Pierce just because for some reason Anthony Richardson, whenever he does complete a pass, he does like to complete them to Alec Pierce.
Right.
So
all right. So you want to put Pierce in there?
Yeah, and then let's see how it looks here.
We have 8,100 left now.
Yeah. And he said he's also WW Fresh is chasing Hubbard and Dalton. I'm good on that. Yeah, I mean I love them too. So but yeah. All right. If we're looking at this here, so we have pretty much whatever you want to do at this point.
Yeah.
As far as the player. I mean,
I would say Jamar Chase at 77, Marvin Harrison at 75.
I was looking at Marvin Harrison because I had secondary.
Nico at 72. Again, all high owned guys, but guys that potentially are going to smash the board this week.
I would personally think of Marvin Harrison just because that secondary is abysmal with Washington. And I do think that's the highest scoring affair.
Okay, looking at the projections here, Nico's 25, Harrison's at 12, so actually not bad for Harrison.
So after we put together this whole lineup, WW Fresh said these guys are clueless. I'm out of this dump. Later, dude. But I actually think I like this lineup, so
Hey,
I'm gonna
forget
go
about
with it.
this guy. This fucking doing him a favor. We're trying to set
Yeah,
him a lineup, and then he just fucking. These guys are clueless. So
I'm out of here. My
I'm,
wife's annoying me.
uh, yeah, I'm gonna take a dump after the show
Yeah.
on that freaking remark. All right, so let's go with let's go with Marvin Harrison there. I like it with the low ownership.
I actually think I'm gonna play this lineup. To be quite honest with you, still have
And
600.
we got
I wanna do.
600 left. So I don't know if you want to upgrade somewhere. Um, we could maybe take out Connor and
Yeah,
go.
fuck Connor now
We could
because
go
I
Jordan
can't say
Mason
Connor.
at higher percentage or Travis Etienne at 7,000. Aaron Jones 64. Or do you want to leave Connor in there, or do you want to go back to B Rob?
Oh, let's go back to B Rob,
Yeah,
and then let's see what else we got here.
we got a G left now.
Man, Oof.
Could go Kyle Pitts at 4,800. Everybody's probably
Nope.
off this guy.
Yeah, I mean, as far as his, his ownership, that's just gonna be low, but it's with good reason.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was thinking of
if
is
we move off Mooney, we could go to Brian Thomas Jr. or Dunze as well.
Okay, see now that I like. Who the hell do we have a defense? The Vikings. I was gonna suggest just
No, we have the
defense.
Texans. We have the Texans.
The Texans. I apologize.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, let's get the Texans back in there. I was just wondering if like we splurge in on, because I think the Niners, for all of their coverage issues, I think they're gonna put a beating on that offensive line. But no, I would much rather go the other way though.
You want to go 3,800, and then we could keep Mooney there, and then we're good to go with the Niners defense.
No, because Adunze is.
So you would rather have a Dunze than Mooney with the Texans D?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Why?
Right.
Where would you go there?
No, I don't. I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
I'm actually going to screenshot this.
The only one knock I would say on Dunze is if Keenan Allen's playing, it gets a little more crowded there all of a sudden. Then you got DJ, you got Keenan, you got Komet. So that's the only thing I would say. So I know Dunze looks great, and he certainly could have a big game, but now it's just a little bit more crowded with Keenan coming back. Again, he's not definitely going to play, but it sounds like he is going to be back this week.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. I am screenshotting that, but that lineup is Justin Fields, Saquon Barkley, Brian Thomas, Roma Dunze, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Taysom Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., and the Texans defense. So I'm actually going to screenshot that, save it for myself. Use it later. Put it in the old spank bank. Jack Attack. Yeah, I don't care that I mispronounced your name because he said, laugh my ass off. Fresh does have a point.
Who are we chasing? I mean, I don't understand.
He mentioned earlier talking about, what was it?
Chasing Chuba and Dalton. I mean, a lot of people are going to go with Dalton this week. It's just a good matchup.
It is a good matchup. Yeah. And I mean, Chuba Hubbard's going to have a good game. I don't understand.
It is what it is. It's not like we're chasing everybody. It's a couple different guys. And Dalton's only 4%. So
and those guys didn't even wind up in our actual lineup. So I don't know.
I don't know.
So that guy could fuck all the way off. So, and you know what, Jack, you can too. Just whatever. Anyway, this is what happens when Anthony's out here. We're allowed to just mouth off. So, all right. Nick Watts is saying, my team is Jaden Daniels, Achane, Aaron Jones, DK, Diggs, Brian Robinson. Should I trade Diggs and Flowers for Devontae?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I get the allure on the potential of him being traded, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you're doing just fine. Yeah. Unless your record's shit, but
Devontae, he's a little bit older now. It's a little more crowded in there. Yeah, maybe he gets traded to the Jets, but you still got to deal with Garrett Wilson.
He's also not even playing this week too, so who knows?
Yeah, right. We don't know. He's older now. He could have, you could have some. So you keep those two guys, both solid guys there.
All right. We'll just answer one or two more questions, and then if you want to do some tight ends, we can. Even though I feel like that's gonna be a quick conversation because tight ends are dog shit. But
yeah, we got to do tight end and a couple defenses. But I mean, with that lineup, we kind of talked through it. But we'll just finish it out real quick.
Yeah. He said non-DFS question here. Someone offered me Malik Neighbors for Cooper Kupp and Jaden Daniels. It's hard to give up Daniels with this league, with his league-winning potential. Daniels is my only QB, but may be able to trade for Kyler. I wouldn't do it because if you're talking about I may be able to trade for Kyler, I only would do that if you, for example, had both deals set up. So you could pull both triggers, bang, 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 what the hang. But
Yeah. Is
yeah,
this a super flex league or not?
he didn't mention that. I'm assuming not, especially because he only said Daniels is his only QB.
Yeah. Is it also a keeper league? I mean, yeah, there's a lot to be told
Context
here.
is key.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you could get another quarterback, I mean, I understand some of these leagues, the roster spots are lower, the bench spots are lower. So it's hard to draft two quarterbacks, but that's kind of what I was doing when I was taking Daniels. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to get Malik Neighbors right now if I could find another quarterback to work with. So if you could get Murray and then get Neighbors, I mean, that's a smash all day because we don't know when Cup's going to come back. He hasn't hit the IR yet, but but that's potentially could happen. Maybe it's just a high ankle. They're just kind of waiting it out. Maybe he's back in a week or two too. So yeah, it's close. If you could get a quarterback to play over Daniels, that's worthy. Like a Kyler Murray, I would do it.
All right. There you go. All right. So, and then, he did say it was a 1 QB league and it's a redraft league.
Yeah. So basically what I just said.
Yeah. Done. One other question and then we'll finish this show up. Top 5 Law Darks. I'm only answering this because I feel like people are going to ask this. Probably we'll be live tomorrow too with some start sit questions before Toe meets ball on week 4 on the Sunday slate. But if Debo plays, should I play him over Amari? I don't think I honestly would. And Anthony would probably be, he'd probably shit his pants because I said something negative about the 49ers. But I don't think I would here because even if Debo plays, I don't know how much he plays, if he's limited in any fashion. Kyle Shanahan seemed a little vague on all of this. So I don't think I would unless I hear something super encouraging. And I believe both teams play at 4, if I'm not mistaken. So you at least have that luxury to decide. But yeah, Steve, where are you going on that one?
Yeah, both teams do play at 4. Well, you got the Patriots at 405, Patriots 9 at 405, and then Browns at 425.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think Debo is going to play. I mean, they're getting Kittle back. Do they want to rush Debo back? Do they need all these guys against the Patriots? Yeah, they want to bounce back, but I think they could smash it up. They got Jennings the way he showed out last week. Maybe Debo's like, I got to get back before, Jennings gets money and they ship my ass off next year. Maybe there's something to that a little bit. But I would go with Amari. I'm not sure how much Debo is going to play in this game. This could be a blowout by the second half. So Amari's going to get more usage. So I'm going to go with Amari here.
Yeah. So WW Fresh is still in the chat, but I'm just going to ignore him. I answered him on the chat, but I'm just going to ignore him for the rest of the duration of the show because he's
yeah, but we
guy.
could one pizza and sausage did mention, can we do FanDuel? Yeah, we could definitely next week's show. We'll mention the FanDuel percentages as well. And maybe we'll fill out a FanDuel lineup as well for you guys. Definitely
he did say okay was gonna sub, but no FanDuel, no sub. I never realized FanDuel was so, whatever. I'm a DraftKings guy, but I actually am after the show's over. I am gonna dabble in FanDuel. So if you decide to stick around, we'll integrate it into the show.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. I'm actually going to set some FanDuel lineups up after this. So, whatever. It's up to you. No worries either way. Anywho, all right. So tight end, let's get into this. You mentioned Taysom Hill, whom I like. I like that idea, that dynamic of, the injuries there. We don't know really what's going on with Chris Olave. Cole Kmet is a guy that I really like. Played well last week against the Colts there in that second half. He's going up against the Rams. He's only 4,400 right now on DraftKings. And if I'm looking at the projected ownership, he's not really too high on that list either. So I like that also. Where is that boy? Man, he's only 1% owned right now as per fantasy points. So I'll take a stab right there on a Cole Kmet. I mean, going up against the Rams.
FanDuel, he's at 3%.
Okay.
DraftKings 1%. So we got some FanDuel coverage for you guys. We'll definitely incorporate it more next week for you guys. No problem.
So, and then the Rams are allowing the third most points to the tight end position. They are one of just about 10 teams or so that have allowed over 30 points to the tight end position in one game. So I know Cole Kmet doesn't smash a lot. Again, he rebounded with a good second half last week, was one of the better tight ends of the week. I think he does it again. So I think he has another good game. I think the game is more complete from a first to second half thing. So yeah, give me Cole Kmet sitting at 4,400.
Yeah, I would say that the price is cheap enough. The ownership's low enough. You could say, the thing I could say about that is they threw the ball 52 times, but The other thing you could say is, he started to really get going once he started targeting Cole Kmet. So maybe this is like his new little favorite play here. So yeah, I don't mind it. This guy Elijah Higgins, obviously with McBride out, is interesting at 3,100. He's had some decent games, even without, catching a couple balls. So he's been involved a little bit. He's going to get the full role now. Talented player, he's got some speed here. So yeah, I don't mind it. 3,100 in a high scoring game. The ownership's a little bit up on him. It's about 9% on DK and lower on FanDuel. But yeah, I mean, if that's a guy you could think about to help, put like guys like Saquon and higher priced receivers in there. We did mention Taysom Hill at the 3,800. Olave, again, we don't know what the hell's going on with this hamstring injury, but we've seen it keep multiple receivers out for multiple weeks. We don't know how the severity of it. AJ Brown has been out with the hammy. But Nico did have a hammy. He's playing this week, so maybe Olave plays, but we still don't know. And then, Dallas Goedert's the obvious one. He's got the high ownership, 5,100, so more for cash. And then Bowers as well with Devontae Adams. Tough matchup. So if you want to fade that, maybe a little bit, 5,600. Kelsey at 5,800 is not a bad one either. People are kind of giving up on him. He's just at 2%. So that's not a bad one either if you want to pay up for tight end.
Only because this is getting mentioned again in the chat, talking about Kelsey, a certain somebody, the second highest priced tight end on the slate. He wants us to talk about him. Other people are asking too, though, so that's why I'm bringing this up. And we are talking tight ends, 5,800. Yeah. Does he have success against the Chargers in the past? Yeah, absolutely. But to me, it's more about a pricing standpoint, and I don't know if I'm going to invest in Travis Kelce this week. Do I think there's going to be a week where he's going to turn it on? Absolutely. Could that week be against the Chargers? Yeah, we've seen him do it in the past. He's ate up the Chargers in the past. So I just don't. $5,800 from you're probably like for our roster construction earlier, we were going with a Saquon Barkley at 8,000. If we went less, if we didn't take Saquon Barkley there at 8,000, then is there a way you fit in Travis Kelce? Yeah, sure. But to me, I would like to see Travis Kelce do it for 1 week before I go ahead and jump in. So, and tight end's a cesspool. I don't mind taking some of those lesser percentages or the lesser price, I should say, the Cole Kmets of the world. So, yeah, you can get Kelce in there. I'm just particularly not doing it. Maybe if I have a multiple lineups, sure, maybe I'll squeak him into one, but I don't know.
Yeah, and this game could be ugly. I mean, the Chargers are all banged up on defense. No Bosa. We don't know what Herbert's status is. They're missing multiple offensive linemen, so this could maybe be sort of a blowout. We see a lot of Carson Steele. I mean, do they really need to use Kelce that much in this game? So I don't mind it because it's the ownership's low, but again, you got to pay the price. A couple more lower end guys. You got Brenton Strange still staying relevant with Evan Ingram out once again, 3,100. He caught a touchdown last week. Didn't do much outside of that, but a better game the week before that. Mike Gesicki could keep it rolling here in a high scoring game, but you still got to compete with Yoshivas now. Higgins coming back a little bit more healthy. Cade Otton's kind of a little bit of a sleeper here. He went for 8 targets last week, 7 catches, 47 yards. We saw what he did in the playoffs last year as well. So that's one that nobody's really thinking about. If you're playing a big tournament, I don't mind throwing him in a couple lineups.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Do you want to go on to defenses here?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with the defense.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about the Vikings defense or the Texans defense. You had mentioned those two. Are those your top plays, or was that more a product of what we were putting together?
I mean, the Vikings defense, Flores has got these guys rolling, man. This guy, Van Ginkel, this linebacker, they brought him over from Miami. They're just these guys are just making plays. They got scored 22 against the Giants, 13 against the Niners, 13 last week against Houston. They absolutely destroy the Texans 34-7. So they're going to get the Packers this week. Again, we don't know if it's going to be Jordan Love, there sounds like there could be some packages from Malik Willis. Jordan Love is coming off an MCL injury. He still could be a little bit gimpy. So do you want to throw him out against a ferocious defense that's going to blitz a ton like Brian Flores and the Vikings? So 2,900. I mean, we're looking for sacks. We're looking for interceptions. We're looking for fumbles. And this certainly could fit the bill at a cheap price. And then the Texans, obviously, at 3,000, we put them in that lineup we filled out with the way Jacksonville is looking on offense, just totally inept. We like them to bounce back a little bit here, but Lawrence could throw a pick or two. He could take 3, 4, 5 sacks. He's getting out of the pocket. He's not facing pressure very well the last 2 seasons. He just looks lost right now. So, with those 2 pass rushers, with Stingley, with D'Amico Ryans calling the defense, that's a cheap enough price where I kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any others here that you see that are kind of, that could come out of the wings here?
I mean,
the Niners one, I don't mind paying up for either. 3,800.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't mind doing that only because I think they're gonna tee off. Again, we talk about this. They're angry. I think they're gonna tee off on that offensive line. I know the Patriots offensive line has played better than what we perceived them to be from the preseason, but still, if there's one thing about this Niners defense, it's definitely the front 7. It's the cornerbacks. It's the outside where you can get them. So yeah, I do think they tee off the here. I don't mind doing that.
Only 5% too. And look at what the Jets defense did to them last week.
Right. I mean, the Bears are always a sneaky play for me. I also kind of, in a way, and I don't know if you mentioned this, but I think the Buccaneers defense is a little sneaky. I think they can get a turnover or 2 here. I think this is an uglier game for Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia, if they win this via the run. With whether it be Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley, whom we talked about. But, in those last 4 matchups that Hurts has had against the Buccaneers, which I mentioned earlier, along with the averaging of 225 passing yards and only throwing for 1 touchdown in all 4 of those games, he also has had 5 interceptions in those 4 games. So I think there's an opportunity here for the Bucs to be a little bit sneaky, only 2,700. So you're not spending a ton. So yeah, I mean, that's another way I would look too, but I like the Vikings. I like the Texans this week. And yeah, I don't mind taking the Niners. Now, here's the thing. It's only $100 less. Would you go with the Jets defense, or at that point, if you're paying up for defense, you're just going to take the Niners? Because I mean, Bo Nix, do we see Bo Nix do again what he did against Tampa Bay?
I don't think it's going to be as good as last week. Could he play smarter again like he did last week? Yeah, he did have a couple missed throws too that could have been picked. I think this is a tougher matchup. The Bucs were just all out of sorts. Like they couldn't even. There was read options. Like they couldn't even defend. Like Jordan Whitehead just totally collapsed on the running back, and he had the outside contain. Letting up runs, and there's a bunch of freaking like curl routes to Cortland Sutton. So that's going to be tougher against Sauce and Reed. So I don't see them putting up a lot of points. The Jets could certainly create some pressure. I think it's going to be a tougher matchup here. And maybe Nix throws a pick or 2. I think you still got Sean Payton. He's still going to create ways. He's going to tell Nix to watch his ass out there. Maybe Nix kind of plays it safe again. But yeah, I think I like the Niners to pay up a little bit more versus Jacoby there for the extra 100. The Texans again. I mean, it's a good matchup, but they're 12%, so they'll be one of the higher owned. So if you want to fade them, I don't mind it. And then the Rams are actually the highest owned this week, 2,800 against Caleb. So they're, the market is expecting more Caleb turnovers this week.
All right, there you go. All right, well, we're at about an hour and a half now, so I think that'll do it for the show today. But Steve, did you have anything else to mention before we ride off into the sunset?
No, that's it. This was fun to do for week 1. Again, next week we'll incorporate more of the FanDuel. I see guys yapping on the chat, yap, saying we're yapping. Yeah. Give it up, guys. We'll bring the FanDuel next week. We'll please the crowd here a little bit. You want to play?
Not even the crowd. We'll please the 2 schmucks.
We'll please the 2 schmucks. We'll please the 2 schmucks. But so, right. But yeah, it's important to incorporate FanDuel. A lot of people obviously play on that.
Well, I was being serious too. I'm literally after this show. I'm literally going in and making some FanDuel lineups.
But yeah, this was great, man. Hopefully, we talked through it. You guys got some good ideas here. I think we got some good ideas. Hopefully, we all come away with some winnings this week. And then we'll be back next week to talk it all again. And again, tomorrow on the show, start sits Sunday. I think Pete and Anthony again.
Yeah, Pete, Anthony, maybe me, probably not. We'll see. But yeah. So, and actually, to that point, the last comment I'll bring up, which is funny because you must have never watched the show before, guy. He said they answer no questions. We literally did 2 Q&A shows yesterday where we answered questions for an hour and a half. And guess what? We're going to do one again tomorrow. So, but you know what? Go fuck yourself. I don't care. But all right, that's going to do it for today's show. But until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.